I'm Hannah.
I'm Samina.
So I am a creative, I guess, but what that encompasses, what my main passion is physical theatre and actor training within that, so pre-expressive actor training. I do a lot of yoga, mindfulness, meditation work, and I'm seeing where that intersects with actor training. So that's kind of my main interests.
My background is in physical theatre and performance training, but particularly interested in play and actually how we can connect with building the strength physically, but also psychologically as well, kind of actually emotional barriers that we overcome through play, and I find that really fascinating. As we get older, we're more afraid of playing, and particularly interested in this form of training because it builds strength and rigour, and the various exercises that we'll be doing today kind of work through that.
Okay. What has led you to this practice? From which point did you arrive at doing this?
Well, I guess for me, I've always had a real interest in dance, so that's where I came from originally. But I'd say when I went to uni, I probably didn't have the confidence to pursue that, because it was my main passion, so it was the thing that I was desperate to do. So then I kind of veered off into drama, and then it was only when I came back to my MA that I was like, actually, I need the physical stuff again, because my degree was very kind of psychological drama, psychological realism, which is great, but it just wasn't quite what I needed, I don't think. So I did an MA in ensemble physical theatre at the UWA, and so we had similar tutors but across different courses, and that really opened the door for the actor training, and I would say actually, kind of a bit cliche, but like human training, I would say that this work could be applicable to anybody. I think it's about confidence building, kind of presence,
and just knowing yourself and the fact that you're constantly changing. And I think it's especially in acting and drama and theatre, the training there's not training available once you've finished your qualification, and it's kind of finding that practice to maintain, not just when you're working on a show, because you're not always going to be in that position. So how can you sustain yourself?
And actually in this country there isn't that much actor training within the professional world anyway, like most of the people that we work with, it's within Europe, or it's within Huddersfield, from the uni, because they've got that kind of built into their philosophy. But pretty much all the professional actors I know are like, don't want to know, because it's just not a very English form, I wouldn't say.
I've got your question. Hold on. How did we arrive? Is that right?
What led you to?
So I was quite fortunate actually with my drama degree that there was a lot of actor training involved in it, but there was such a range of practitioners and them exploring their different pathways, and it was finding the kind of relationship between actor training and facilitation. And a lot of my work is with young people and various communities who have never accessed any form of theatre or drama. So it's like, actually for me it started with a really great facilitation tool, and knowing, it benefited me a lot as a performer and a collaborator creatively, but actually finding the journey between this work and facilitation. So it's like learning something in a completely different level when you're teaching it, and actually another way of communicating. And I really love it. Like, I think the connection and that you can develop with people within play, the amount of time it takes an hour in comparison to a week's conversation. I think I've paraphrased somebody's quote there, I can't remember who, but it's that kind of relationship with that. I'm really interested in maintaining it actually.
So psychophysical is basically as it sounds, certainly training mind and body, and not treating it. One of the reasons why the word is together is that we're not treating it as a dualistic system. So it's not mind is separate and body is something that we kind of drag along. The two are completely combined, which is often, I think it was Stanislavski that said, one of the hardest things an actor does is walk on the stage and sit down as a natural kind of instinct. So it's trying to train your mind, which is informing everything that you do with the body all the time, how to use the body in a way that's useful. That's not in a nutshell. I'm going to say in a nutshell, it's not. Do you want to add anything? Okay. So psychophysical actor training.
And there's a series of tools in kind of, and each of it just kind of like that, hopefully the participants can take away with them and actually that you can either practice on your own, and it is just a 2-hour session, so we can't really delve into all the various stuff that we'll be proposing to the group, but it's just a snippet into that world of what is psychophysical training basically.
We've tried to structure it so you start with real focus on the self, and then you move that out to focus on interpersonal, so with other people, and also within the space, which is equally important, or props if you've got other objects with you. So yeah, that's kind of what the workshop.
I've been quite fortunate in the sense that there's quite a few practitioners that I've met along the way, but I guess one of the main companies or people that I've met is Opera Theatre, who are actually based over in south of France, and I encountered them a few years ago now, and they do like residentials and they do open sessions in terms of opening their practice to anyone who wants to basically train, and they're always interested in making their work accessible, but also actually the participants also inform their work as well and how they can develop their pedagogy and their training. So for me, they've been like among the kind of ace beams that I've met and actually really supported my journey, like especially starting out, not starting out young, but being quite naive actually, and not going through the formal route of actor training and not knowing. Like I remember, like I was young, I felt like everyone was just name dropping, and I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe read an article about them, but it doesn't mean that I know the work. And in some indirect way, I think giving that space to just be, which was really nice actually.
Yeah, I'd say over similarly, but I'd say I've had quite a few throughout my life, as I've got, as I've kind of grown up. One of the main ones now is a yoga teacher who's also a mindfulness practitioner. She works at the Huddersfield Uni and she used to be the head of department there. But I'd say that she's been a really, really strong influence on me, and she's been really, really supportive and really actively trying to help me develop and see how I can be developed through the work that she does and how she can facilitate my development, which I'm really, really grateful for. But it is quite a small world, isn't it? So you kind of can draw from quite a lot of people, and you know quite a lot of people, which is lovely, I think.
Yeah. And also what's nice, and I don't mean this in a, it sounds really anti and not nice, but like there's also people that you meet who you admire, but you don't, it doesn't work equally in terms of, and then it's really nice to, in this kind of small community that a network that we've built, there's the space to have that, knowing which practitioners you can relate to and work with, and it's a mutual relationship, and others that you don't know, it's also cool.
Again, probably changed through, I know it sounds so general, but it's probably changed throughout my life, so I've had great pieces of advice at different times in my life. I'd say the best piece of advice quite recently that I got was thinking of your life, or your creative life, like seasons almost. So I think with creative people there's always this sense that you have to be doing, like you have to be creating, whereas actually sometimes that's not where you are in your life, and that's okay. I think maybe, I don't know, it's a hangover from just the whole capitalist bubble about money and kind of, but you can't be creative all the time. You might just have time for, I don't care about any of this, I want to see friends, I want to see family, and that's probably the best piece of advice I've been given recently, because it allowed me to sit with where I was, which allowed me to get out of where I was. And I think if I hadn't been given that advice, I would have just kept banging and not moved forward, perhaps. I don't know. How about yourself?
My dad actually, he says, and I think it's says this thing not to hold on to coal, burning coal, which sounds weird.
No,
yeah, he was like, if it was on your hand, like that as a thing, not to grasp onto it, which always helps in a lot of scenarios, especially within the creative kind of when you're either struggling or trying to find your pathways through it, is to kind of go in actually, and you're not the only one going through it. I think that's quite comforting to know.
Not maybe perhaps lean on that, like trying to like grab every opportunity because it's just an opportunity, and as a creative person you're like, oh, you give me an opportunity. It's like, well, actually you might not be the right person to work with. Would that be the most useful thing for me?
And things take time. Like that's another one. Like, you know, sometimes it's just not your time.
God out.
We did not. It's like a stash of 40 So those two.
Okay, lastly, I was just going to ask you about, you know, I run these Making It sessions, which are about sharing skills and artists and creative networking. So I suppose it'd be good to hear from you, even though you're not doing a session yet, you'll do shortly. What do you think, or why do you think artists should get involved in these kind of networking nights and skill sharing events?
Even though mine is kind of like a fluke, because she's pregnant. No, I was going to come down it. I think it's great to just want to get out your comfort zone. And I think that ironically is like, I'm from Halifax, I grew up in Halifax, I still live here, and it's like, and I've heard you guys raised, and I know all the stuff that's happening, and I know quite a few people who've worked with me as well, and I'm not sure why this is happening now, why it not happened like a year ago. But I think it's important, one, to step out of your comfort zone and build that kind of network. And I think it's just also to know your work. It's just to try it out in different places with people, and I think it's a learning experience for myself as well, going actually. So I think sometimes we get really comfortable, which is great, but I think the learning doesn't happen in that zone.
I think it's a really lovely opportunity. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm really passionate about the work, so I want to share it. So I'm like, this is great, everybody should do it. And I want to meet people that are interested in the work, because even if they don't want to work with me but they like the work, I know loads of people I could put them in touch with. So, and I actively want to do that. I mean, we've definitely worked with people in the past, I think, that are very closed in that way, want to hold on to the contacts and be like, oh mine. And it's like, no, I want to like share it, man. Like, that's what it's about.
And I think like our journey, which is quite similar, that's how we developed as practitioners, by making those networks and contacts. And that, for me, I think that has been the constant, like, and even at the point where you're like, what am I doing? Your network is really important, and sometimes you don't realise it until much later, kind of going actually the way it works, really, like things come back, and you're part of it, so you just might as well turn that cog. Got a lot of imagery today.
I think that's it. For now, unless for any other.
So thank you.